So welcome. I'm the Chief Medical Officer alongside the other doctors at Duber because I love to teach, so I bring them on when we're onboarding. We're coming to cannabis conventions for the same reason. It's pretty exciting to be here talking to you, but obviously you can see what a small audience I have versus the rest because I'm on the medical side. And Maryland just passed rec, which on the one hand, yay, we're all glad they did it. Because again, I'm all about the safety. I think getting your card is a practical matter. You learn a lot when you have your card because you learn from your doctors. Just by going in annually, it's really, really fun. I love teaching new patients to get their card and teach them the basics of the products, which will breeze through the day. But I love the renewing patients too because they're coming back and we're talking. And I always make it my personal challenge to hear what they're doing, what they've tried, and to try and teach everyone something. And it's so fun to see people's eyes light up. Honey, I've been growing drugs since before you were born, and you taught me something today. So that's the beauty of it. So that's why I'm here, even though everyone else out there is still wrecked, because there's a lot of good for medical. Nothing else is going to save you cash. In every state, they've set it up that way, and you have access to more product or higher percentages or higher amounts. So that's me. So we're happy to be in Maryland. We actually just expanded in Maryland our coverage for physician coverage. So Maryland is now one of our full states. 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we do have them here today for the conference. That was part of the, I hope that was what we presented, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Let's try this button. So, welcome. I guess I got ahead of myself. The big thing here was like how exciting it is that it is rec. You've probably seen the news in Maryland. Billions of dollars are being made on rec. But all that does is it makes it safer, makes it more accessible. It makes it so your parents who are anti-marijuana, but you know they would do a lot better with a half a gummy for sleep than 4 pills, you can start talking to them about it. So I'm still a big proponent, but of course I think our doctors do a great job because we love it and we all believe in it. This is really why we're here. We all know this to some degree, maybe not the statistic. This is why I love it for the retirees. This is why I love it for people. People love getting off their addictive medications. Even as little as getting off their over-the-counter Motrin and not have to carry a bottle around with you all day. People love that. So this is published regularly in the literature. Medical cannabis users stop taking pills. But this guy gets the credit. Dr. O'Shaughnessy, back in the 1800s, it was late 1830s, using marijuana, using hash, using opiates. Back in the day, really opium. They were using cocaine, but O'Shaughnessy said unequivocally, marijuana works better. For a while, he used it, was popular, and then after a while, we decided for some reason it was bad. But we'll come back to that. I'm not as cool as Dr. O'Shaughnessy, but this is me, and this is my background, why I'm a big believer. I'm a neurosurgeon. I spent years working in trauma units. I also did complex spinal surgery fellowship, so I've seen a lot of patients with back pain and headaches. And then I decided I would sort of retire because my family decided to have medical issues. They're all well, but they bounced back. So I did emergency medicine. I timed it perfectly. COVID. Did 3 years on the front lines, but I've always been a medical cannabis expert because I started back in California where I was in my residency. I was very vocal when I voted for that first cannabis law. I was a doctor. I was in the trauma unit. Like, Morris, you're radical. No. Not only do I want everyone to vote for it on Tuesday, I want us to buy 3 kilograms every weekend and drop it off in Southeast San Diego to the gangs because they won't come in our trauma unit. Right? Because people are home using their marijuana. They're not going to be out stabbing and shooting each other. So that was my perspective in my 20s. Over the years, I'm thrilled to see how far it's come, how many products we have, and we're going to get to that. But I cared about my patients then. I cared about them throughout. I meet patients who did a perfect operation, MRI looks good. They still have back pain for years. That's really frustrating, not just to the patient, but to the surgeon. So we had to look for better ways to treat it. I thought it always meant you got to figure out what's wrong and fix what's wrong. Pharmaceutical companies, however, gave us the opiate crisis for one time. So I was in practice before it, when we used narcotics recently, during it when it was ridiculous and I would participate in the waterfall, to now, when we have opiate addicts that are treated with medical cannabis. And that's how they stay clean and fight the demons. So, huge range of uses, huge range of patients, but that's my background. That's where I came from. I've also had a card for years. I will tell you I didn't get it right away. I was nervous, the stigma, the implications. And so that's probably also why I'm a believer in it, because I do see that it has benefits. I see my patients every day in all walks of life, and it helps. It's not the day I pills. Interesting little fact. You'll see these bubbles if you ever look at our website. We call them our fun facts. We tend to do 2 for Tuesdays on them, just random marijuana facts. But yeah, California had the first state, was the first state to outlaw it. But when I voted for it in 1996, we were the first ones to have it. And now, as we sit here today, we all get to benefit from that. So a little bit about the history. I guess I got ahead of myself. My apologies. In the 1800s, Dr. Shaughnessy and his colleagues used marijuana. They loved it. They thought it was great for their patients. They wrote papers about it. They talked about why it helped people. In the 1930s, we outlawed it. California beat the rush on outlawing it, as I said, and then they beat the rush on bringing it back. Colorado followed with just adult use recreational, and today, look, those are our stats today. Pretty impressive. It's 2 territories, by the way, on the last slide. So we've got some degree of medical in 38 states, but don't be fooled. Some of them are ridiculous programs that you wouldn't even consider marijuana. Some of them 3%, they call that marijuana. It's really hard for us to, as doctors say, no, why would you do that when there's a better product? But we're getting there. Who would have thought that as soon as now that we would see it, we're seeing it in the South, Deep South, Mississippi, Kentucky pass. Oh, wrong arrow. It's working again. So what does it help? Lots of symptoms, but mainly pain and anxieties. And if you have sleep issues, they're often interrelated, right, with pain and anxiety or depression. Everyone knows marijuana helps appetite. That was one of the first things we used it for. Well, the appetite came because chemotherapy patients were throwing up, and when they lost weight, they couldn't fight their cancer. And today, when I was in medical school, anyone got stage 4 cancer, it was a 6-month death sentence. Today, people with stage 4 cancer, it's like, when are you coming back to work? You've only got this much PTO, and we're talking about you've got 5, 10, 20 years to live. We're not going to plan around this. You're going to plan around your appointments. So simultaneously, we've got these better developments, but those patients are still being subjected to some significant meds. Many of you in this room may have been on significant medications for flare-ups of various diseases. So lots of symptoms it helps. All kinds of categories of patients it helps. And that's what's really amazing is that we now accept this in that modern medicine. Initially psychiatric was just PTSD. Medical was just cancer and glaucoma. Now we realize it helps a lot of people. And if you think about for any of you who are in management or employers, wouldn't you rather have your employee on a little bit of marijuana and not taking pills all day than having them on a Percocet script? It's about the impairment, it's about the function, it's about the person. But people who have their medical problems better controlled will use less medicine. So they're not going to come in and work stoned because that's good stuff, man. You want to save it for home. You don't want to waste it on a work day. Whereas the Percocet guy, they're hooked. They can't leave it alone. So marijuana has some qualifying conditions. Top row are line item, anorexic cachexia means wasting away, but really cachexia always comes with something making you sick, eating up inside. Glaucoma is classic, multiple sclerosis is classic, PTSD, way better than pharmacology. It is amazing to see PTSD patients year after year once they've gotten the card. Seizures, pretty classic indication. Next basket case, severe nausea, severe muscle spasms, severe chronic pain are all okay in Maryland. How many adults don't have one body part that's had pain for 3 to 6 months? So a lot of places it can be used. I'm not saying everyone has to have it, but again, when you're thinking about my mom's knee, we'll talk about topicals. I kick myself into so long. But it's the older patients who really benefit of the less side effects and the goodness. Put this in quote, look at that last quote. Another chronic medical condition which is severe and for which treatments have been ineffective. So you have a recurrent shoulder dislocation. What keeps happening? Or you have Crohn's disease and it flares up. if you've tried it, if you've had care and it's not working, if it's coming back, if it's a chronic condition, that it really falls into the Maryland language. So sometimes I have skeptics look at this and say, oh, Maryland doesn't have very many qualifying conditions. Yeah, it does. Pretty much every adult that's interested in learning safe use. But it's different how the states are recognizing it. New York just changed theirs from a list of like 25-ish to anything the doctor and the patient agree on. That core group of about 20, 25-ish, most of the states agree on those, but not all of them. So just so you know, since I'm in Maryland, I gotta tell you, there are people, there are critics that say, oh, that's a wimpy list. I don't see it as wimpy at all. I see it as let me do my job, let me talk to the patient and figure out what they like, what they want. I've already mentioned this along the way because I believe in everybody's points. The range of safety is huge. How it is not impossible, but it is incredibly difficult to for an adult to overdose on a marijuana product. You can. You eat that whole candy bar and stab it in a little square of chocolate. You'll be worshiping the cornerstone God. You will have 6-8 hours of misery, but you will not have a multi-system organ failure. You will not die. Ditto if you drink the whole bottle of tincture. Now, of course, 2-year-olds, that's awful fun. But for adults, it's really a huge range of safety. Low side effects. Most of the side effects are desirable. Most patients like their indica intention in the evening because of the side effect of it makes you sleepy before bedtime. Cancer patients like the side effect of the munchies. But how's it really work? Well, one, the anti-inflammatory. Better than 10 ibuprofen or other your favorite anti-inflammatory put together. The anti-inflammatory is working in the background, even if you're using it for the euphoria, the relaxation, for anxiety. That anti-inflammatory is really good. And Motrin or naproxen over the years will affect your kidneys. So much safer. Endocannabinoid system, I'm just going to mention it because it's great news. I'm not going to try to teach you about it because it would be a whole hour, 2, 3. The endocannabinoid system are big words to say, hey man, God gave us receptors in the brain that are already waiting. That's why the THC works, because it goes to receptors we were already given. And so now since we figured that out in the 90s, that's when medical cannabis really came into being, because we could figure out how the different strains work for different symptoms. So there's a whole science behind it. I'm not here to teach you that. I'm here to give you just the overview of why, what the range is. But there's a lot of exciting data there. And that's the basic scientists do the work so that we on the front lines of the clinical can help patients day to day. I cannot drive this safely, I apologize. So from when I voted in 1996 for that flower to today when I teach a patient, you got 3 sets of choices. When you walk in the dispensary to buy something, they ask you pretty much 3 questions to help you pick that product. The answers to those 3 result in 36 options if you multiply them out. What strain do you like? And I'm going to say basic for the purpose of this class, because you can get really detailed. How do you want to take it? And then I joke and I put it just like that for patients. Would you like CBD with that? Because if you say yes, just like the burger when they ask you the fries, did they shut up? No. You want the fries? You want big fries, little fries, super size? Same thing with CBD. You gotta know CBD at a 1-to-1 ratio has one set of effect. High dose CBD. And again, on top of your marijuana, not in isolation, but on top of your marijuana, has another set of effects. So you get choices. So you got 3 choices with the top row, 4 choices with the next row, and essentially 2 more choices with the next row. My happiest patients have a couple products in their go kit, maybe not leave the house, but in their go-to bag. Because once you have your card and once you have regular access to the dispensary, you can pick your favorites, and your favorites will evolve. Where did it come from? I call Smoking the Flower Old Faithful. That's where it started. Those guys in the 60s that really brought it to the forefront. It's got goodness. Rapid onset of action. Big words to say. Kicks in minutes, right? Helps you right away. It's consistently there. It's got good stuff. It controls symptoms that we're going to be talking about. The downside, what happens an hour later? It's all gone. So you have to either redose or have other formulas. The dosing at the beginning was non-specific. So it's like someone said, hey, let's build a better mousetrap. And we did that mousetrap in 2 directions. One, we said, well, how do we make Old Faithful better? What we like about it, we like the rapid onset of action, right? The short duration, it's got its role. But now we have all these other inhaled agents. So anything inhaled is going to have that in common. Kicks in fast, but going to wear off fast. So whether it's a vape, a flower, concentrates, waxes, shatters, dabs, any of those, if you inhale it, if that's how it gets to brain receptors, it's going to kick in fast and then wear off fast. So that's in common in that category. So where did we improve that? Well, we went from flower, and now the vapes and concentrates are a very portable, discrete device. Many patients with anxiety just know that that's in your pocket. Don't use it all the time, but it's secured way. Likewise, if you only want to use the inhaled products because you don't like the edibles or the long actings, then having something portable and discreet matters. But also, there are many proponents that say these modern ways are safer than flower. Why? Because when you smoke the flower, you're lighting a fire, right? You're lighting a fire and inhaling. So you are inhaling all the products of that fire. Now, it's a limited time, and I think we could debate vapes versus flowers. I like to say that, there's goodness with each of them, and you just make your choices. Owls? Well, what's the other thing? So we took the smell away, we made it portable, so you can take it when you gotta go. The other way is, okay, let's make it longer acting for a sustained effect. I tell your patients, when you are in the dispensary, anything inhaled kicks in fast, wears off fast. But everything else in the entire dispensary was designed to do the opposite, to this long-lasting effect. Well, once you figure that out, you can mix and match. People do tend to microdose and do a little piece of their edible, so they've got something in the background, and then you use your vapor flower on top of it when you need an extra. Or maybe it's before bedtime, you do the two together so you get your relaxation with your inhale and your edible lasts you through the night. When you do those together, you end up using less amounts, lower doses, and saving money, but getting better effects. So even if you're old hat, remember I told you at the beginning, I love to teach even people who know a lot, even if you're old hat, those little tweaks really give you better symptom control and better control over your products and save money, again, because you're using it more efficiently. So tinctures, topicals, edibles are the way to make it longer lasting. And then why do we now like CBD that we didn't like before? Because we figured out when they're together, they last longer, the products. That's one of the benefits. Give me a second. So how those three came to 36, I think most of you in this room know about sativa versus indica versus hybrids. Realizing the pick-me-up of sativa on the one hand is a good thing, on the other hand, if you have anxiety, that can be a bad thing. If you have AFib, palpitations could be, or the feeling of maybe my heart's racing can be a bad thing. I tell new users, when you've only been using recreationally and you first buy at a dispensary, don't start with sativa if you have anxiety, because you don't know if that commercial grade is going to make the difference. You also don't know, even if your neighbor's been selling you, quote, sativa for 20 years, what you've really been smoking, unless you saw it, that it came from a dispensary, that you saw it being open. So these are the basics, but again, you get to mix and match. Did I skip a song or run out of order? Forgive me, folks. Oh, okay, so we just talked a little bit. I think those are two partial of the same theory, and I'll just leave that one up and tell you the rest about that. These the next couple slides are definitely what I wanted for today's talk. Might no longer iced tea from the hotel stuff. I had warm water in the bottle. So we talked about the strains, one of your choices. The route of administration, and then the CBD. If you don't get CBD with that, it's just marijuana. You'd think I don't speak all day, every day, right? Okay. Route of administration, we talked about that. And then the CBD. If you don't get it, that's fine. If you do get it, You get it in 1-to-1 ratio, the two plants together, and it goes to your brain receptors together. I call that combination maximal medicine, minimal impairment. That is the one where you get the least buzz, which is something new. All this time, everything was about the euphoria, right? Let's get the buzz. But then once you realize it has goodness, and it helps your pain, and it helps your abdominal cramping, that's like, and then the question is, why should I let my pain escalate 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? And these one-to-ones may be the solution for a lot of people because they have less euphoria. And back to what I talked about earlier with the microdosing, that's the edible that people are microdosing at any time. Of course, if you're going to try that, do it on your off day at home and don't operate heavy machinery. But that's really impressive to me. One, learning the science, but I thought, how am I going to talk to patients about that? Are you kidding me? It's the patients coming back and telling me this is the bomb for them. So when I advise during my appointments, I've got to believe in the science, but I also have to believe in the trend where people have used it and they're telling me it's great. So I'm now a believer. Their combinations work. The high dose is different. The high dose is more CBD than the THC. So usually it's like 3 to 5 to 1, okay? What that does is that acts like your indica. One, it's going to make your THC longer because we said anytime the plants are together, it acts longer. But two, more anti-inflammatory, and it helps you sleep. So sleeping products are very common in the marijuana world. And if you get an indica with a high dose CBD, that is the bomb for sleep. I have patients in all of our states that come and renew their card for nothing else. Now, these are states where if they don't have rep, people are renewing their card just to get that product. So it helps a lot of people sleep. If you get that combination, I would recommend you start with half an hour. And you get that extra sleeping through the night from the CBD side, so you're not dopey or hungover, which is why people really like it. So at the beginning of my talk, the premise, I argue this more with other doctors than normal people. Yes, I firmly believe marijuana is real medicine. Ask some of our patients, pain, anxiety. I think this is got pain, go to your doctor. You're going to get anti-inflammatories, you're going to get a stomach ache. It may or may not help your pain. Go back, you get muscle relaxants, you're going to feel like jello. May or may not help your pain. Go back, what are you going to get next? Opiates. So let's compare. Let's compare that series of doctor's visits or ER visits to get those opiates or prescriptions. If you instead, marijuana. It's effective. It kicks in fast. We talked about the formulas. Even the long-acting take a while, but they kick in. Patient-centric. You and I probably have very different preferences in the dispensary, and you do too. And that's a good thing. You can choose. We can each drive our bus. It's not addictive. Anyone ever tried stopping smoking pot? Guess what? There's a syndrome. You know what happens? 7 to 10 days you lose your appetite. You may have some sleep disturbance, you may have some grouchiness, sure, but it's nothing like the textbooks we write about withdrawal syndromes from all these other pharmaceuticals, or even alcohol, which is legal, or cigarettes, which are legal. So, again, the safety profile, that's my thing. Low risk of side effects, and you're not frying your kidneys like you are if you're taking your ibuprofen every day. But instead, you go to your doctor, you talked about working your way, how many appointments does it take to get the opiates? And then, what do you get? You get addicted. You have side effects. You can't poop, you got cotton mouth. Over time, the Ultram isn't strong enough. Then you go to Norco Vortab. Then from that, you go to Percocet. Then from that, you got to go to pain management doc, sign a contract, pee in a cup, put a patch on, get some Oxycontin. All the while, you're getting stronger and stronger meds, and your pain control is going down and down, and your side effects are going up and up. And again, addiction. Am I big against addiction? Can you tell? That is on the list. Again, it has to do with the timing when I went through and seeing this whole opiate crisis. So if you put them side by side, what moron doctor would tell you that opiates are better? especially for long-term management. You have a bottle of opiates, you gotta keep taking them, you're addicted. You have a bag of bud or a bag of different vapes, and you decide you wanna put them away. You can. That alone, I think, is the difference. So, back on my soapbox, yes, it's great medicine. And not only that, what's really amazing is that now many addiction treatment centers are realizing it's much better for their patients to have a medical card than to buy off the street. It also helps them with their demons, and it helps patients come off their Suboxone methadone. We have a lot of recovering alcoholics too. They'll take a little edible, put a little tincture in a sparkly drink and still go to bars with their family and friends and just be low key, not have to drink alcohol, just a little bit of their edible tincture equivalent. Many states, I haven't personally shopped in Maryland yet. I plan to this weekend for research, of course. But many states that have programs for a long time have all these edible products. Like you can get essentially Crystal Light equivalent powder you can put in your drink or sprinkle on your food. All kinds of cool stuff. You can get a scoop of honey. Safety is huge. You just got to figure out what your preferences are. So that's the one place. How about an anxiety attack? What happens if you use your marijuana for an anxiety attack? You feel the stressor. You've got a real stressor. You feel those hormones coming on, those stress hormones. You got to go to that meeting and do battle though, right? Use your medical marijuana. Use a vape. It's discreet. No one has to know you did it. If you use a vape 1-to-1, the least cognitive impairment, least buzz. You can go to that meeting and do battle, and guess what? It ends in an hour, right? So you've got your day back. But it kicks in fast. There's nothing in medicine you can get to kick in faster than a vape. You push the button, you inhale. Nothing's faster than that. If you are in the ER, if you walk in my ER and you're here and I have my A team, I still got to start the line, the IV, drop the meds, push the meds, wait the time. Even if you're already in the ER, we got to go through some of that. Even if we do a shot, you got to wait. But anything we do in the ER is not going to give you that bam anti-anxiety and go away, right? So compare that. So that's what I think is safe. What have I not prescribed in decades? Benzos. First of all, you pop that Xanax. You still got to go in that meeting. You can't delay the meeting to wait for the Xanax to kick in, right? What's happening to your anxiety? Escalating. I think that's a bad thing. So that lag time is bad. What also happens with your benzos, your Xanax, your Ativan, your Valium? After the meeting, no more stressor, nothing else to keep you awake, now your afternoon's ruined. And I personally think that the effects of the benzos often have more cognitive impairment than the low-dose marijuana. And again, the addiction risks are real. Yes, ma'am?
The previous slide, the last one was short half-life.
Oh.
What's the half-life?
I'm sorry, good question. That's bad of me to have it on there that way. Basically, that's how we talk about it in medicine, and the way I addressed that before is that it kicks in fast, right? That's the good news, but it wears off fast. So an hour and a half after using an inhaled product, it's gone. And that's because the pharmacology terms are the half-life is how we measure, how we track on the science level. So that's the medical term for telling it wears off in an hour and a half. Versus, because in this slide I'm comparing the immediate onset inhaled marijuana and anxiety attacks. So rapid metabolism, right? They're both telling you, hey, when that meeting's over, that vape's going to wear off and you can have your day back. But I said it in that manner, unfortunately.
Is a follow-up question on that? If someone were driving or the cops pull you over, what does a half-life? What kind of? How does that show up or not show up?
That's actually a really good question, but that's the problem in testing. We do not, as opposed to alcohol. Alcohol, when you get pulled over, what your level is now versus what your body weight and gender are, we can plug it into a chart and know for sure how much you drank when and how long until it goes away, because we know the half-life and the metabolism. So we can plug that in calculators and we can test it. The problem is with marijuana, we have no test that tells us how much you used or when. So when they test, all it tells us that you've used marijuana in the last 30 days if it's a urine test. So I tell card holders, if you're, you have to find out what this is with your employer, because once you are a regular user, you will always have a positive urine test until you're retired, basically. Now, Some employers will use the hair test, there's saliva tests, those all have different limitations. So that's, you can abstain for shorter times for other tests, but for the classic urine test, which is done, that is, that won't clear. Now that is not a test that is done when you're pulled over. If you're pulled over for a speeding ticket or a routine traffic violation, don't be smoking in front of the car. Common sense goes a long way. Yes sir, no sir, may I have another? I was doing 77 and a 40. Yeah, I'll take my ticket and shut up. But the reality is, no, you're not supposed to smoke while using heavy machinery or driving a car. Absolutely. So the fact that it's in your bloodstream, you left your meeting, and you feel safe to go home, that's really the same kind of guidelines doctors give for patients who take Vicodin and Percocet. I just feel it's much safer here. It's a rare problem that we've seen. We haven't seen it across the states now that marijuana is so legal. It's not like the drug trafficking problem. And maybe that's why we haven't spent the dollars to make the right test. Because the right test would be like that, okay, pee in a cup now or breathe in this machine now, but we don't have that. So you're better off just getting along, with the traffic laws. All right, did I get your question? Okay, cool, thank you. Sure, and we got ahead to some stuff for later, and that's where we were is that. So in conclusion, is there anyone in the room that cannot guess what my next slide will be after putting these side by side? Yes, it's freaking safe. People and my happiest patients are patients who come back and have gotten off of addictive medications, whether it's opiates or whether it's psychotropics, even antidepressants, anti-anxieties. People just love it so much better. I think it's the ultimate patient-centric. We give you the guardrails, we let you drive the bus, and ultimately it's individual. But that positive feedback, I do think that yes, doctors do matter. I do think we have something to offer you. But the big picture is you're pretty much getting our services for free because you save money at the dispensary having a card. Every state can do. And I'm not a snake oil salesman. I really believe in marijuana products. I really love talking to the patients. And I think that's, why I'm here at a rec conference, because our patients come back. Our patients are grown-ups like yourselves. They have jobs, they have families, they have lives, they have different considerations. You're happy with it. But, we spend on a return visit, we spend 15 minutes with you once a year, and most of our patients really think it's worth it. So if you're a new patient, we're not going to talk down to you and say sativa versus indica. You're going to tell me, hey, you're studying your terpene profile. I'll go with it. Okay? But the new patient, I'm not going to say the word terpenes to them if they haven't been in the dispensary yet. Yeah, so we try to roll with that. So I think we do a lot. I love what we do. I can't believe that it's our, when I voted in 1996 for the first law, and you told me in 25 years I'd be teaching people in auditoriums about this, I wouldn't have believed you. But it's great, and that's why we're doing it. It helps patients. And when you trust the patients, I think I told you about the microdosing. And I mentioned it on the CBD comments. When I read the science, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but who's going to go for that? Oh my gosh, it's the patients who did the microdosing. Patients were cutting their edibles into quarters and started microdosing. Meanwhile, the industry was making 10s and 20s and 50s. And guess what you can now find at your dispensaries? Provide these little tubes of mints that are 2 milligrams of THC and 2 of CBD. The one-to-ones that come now in little microdosing. But a couple of years ago, they didn't have it. The industry was going this way, the patients were going this way. So, again, I think that's what makes it so safe. That maximum medicine, minimum impairment, one-to-one. I can't tell you my patients, you think they just want it for euphoria, and they're like, you have that? Wait, let me write that down, Doc. The combinations, again, that's patients, real life. This is safer. And then, last but not least, I kind of got ahead of I mentioned on the sleep aid replacement, that animal or tincture, indica plus high-dose CBD. I can't tell you how many patients are not using sleeping pills anymore. Even getting off the Benadryl or Tylenol PM or the melatonin, that side of the aisle, people like this better. Ambien, Lunesta, Trazodone side of the aisle, patients like the marijuana and sleep aids better. I think it's safer. Topicals, let me just mention, that shit is magic. Excuse my French, but it's magic. Grab a jar one-to-one and just keep it. And that's the one I feel guilty. It took me so long to get my mom involved. My mom's 81 years old and lives with us. She's got dementia, but she's a retired shrink, so we got disconnected and we reconnect. And she's always been anti-marijuana. She has a horrible need. Day in, day out, patients tell me how great the topicals are. Finally, I broke down and got it for her. Made her go see the doctor. She's anti-marijuana. And she got her script, and we bought her the jar. I'm there, I'm in the industry, I know how good it is. It's for my mom, I'm willing to spend anything, right? And I get up to it in Ohio, it's always $50 for that little jar. Deep breath, cheapskate first. Get out my spectacles, read the label, 42 doses. I'm like, all right, that's 6 weeks. All right, that's $1 a dose, okay. Within a week, I'm like, all right, we'll buy her another second jar. The first jar did last more than 6 weeks because I marked the calendar, I just had to. But it's so awesome. We're a 3-card household. We got mom a better jar, and we keep the old jar on the kitchen counter. I have a repetitive use injury thing right here. I put just a wee little bit on it, melts the pain for days. Now in this case, it's something that's repetitive use. I know what I did to flare it up. I'm also those same days not gonna flare it up again, right? But before I tried the cream, and mind you, I've had a card for decades. I didn't try the cream until I saw my mom using it and then working for $50 worth, right? It's magic. I put it on, the pain is gone. Before I was doing that, what would I do? 3 over-the-counter ibuprofen. About 4 hours later, it starts throbbing again. 6 hours later, first day, take that ibuprofen. No kidding, about a month ago, my husband was looking around the house for ibuprofen. Couldn't find it. What do you mean you can't find it? It's my husband. Just go look. You know, look here, there, everywhere. Give him like 6 places. He comes back, he's like, I am not kidding you. We have no ibuprofen anywhere. Now, finally, I did find, in one of my travel suitcases in the outer pocket, I had a little bottle left from Dollar General. But he had really scouted our whole house. Since we became a 3-card household, and since we had that cream, that's the difference is the cream. We didn't have it. Before that, we had a 500, you've all seen that 500 pill jar of ibuprofen or naproxen that you get at Costco or Sam's Club. We always had one on the kitchen counter, and we all used it to fill our little personal bottles that we had in our bathrooms and in our purses, and he had it in his laptop bag. Literally, that was all I found was that little Dollar General there. So I thought that was just really amazing. But the topicals are great. I can unequivocally recommend them to you. That first jar, the chunk at the cash register, just remember I did too. But after that, it's like, wow. And again, that gives you no buzz. Yeah, you're paying out of pocket instead for your Voltaren gel prescription, but it works way better. My mom has dementia. There's no filter. There's no placebo effect. Her knee's killing her, or she's making coffee. And so when she's telling us the knee is killing her, we're pointing fingers. Who did her 9:30 meds this morning? Who forgot the cream? That's literally at the beginning. That's how we realized how well it worked. So you don't have to like the cream. You don't have to like the same things I do. You don't have to like the same thing your spouse does. But the beauty is it's safe, and I think you can do a lot with it. That's the other part of my family. You saw the 3 humans at the beginning. These are the 3 doggies. But future directions for marijuana, I think it's great. Seeing the state go rec. I love seeing the states do more. The more that we can do, I feel like round one in a new state is get cards to the patients who are already users and teach them how they can upgrade their use. And that's the group that's going to learn the fastest. And as that population grows, they're the ones telling their mothers, brothers, daughters, and the patients who can get more people off of pills and let them have better lives. So improving access is a big thing. Improving delivery and access is happening together. Research is not my personal bailiwick. It bores me to tears, but I love using it to make my points. So I think that we still enroll in a rec state. Again, it's probably bullet point 2. That's the reason that it's really not federally legal and not wide open everywhere. Because it is going to affect the pharmaceutical industry. And the other federal thing, not to be political, it's just I think insurance companies on the doctors, right? Insurance companies, they don't pay for your doctor visit with us, right? That's their loophole, because it's not federally legal and they do interstate commerce. That's why they don't pay for your marijuana also. But we do, like our company, we accept HSAs and FSAs, so you can use it out of your health savings account because we're a doctor's appointment. But we're that little bitty fee compared to what you're spending on your medicine in a year. Yeah.
So with that point,
yes.
Do you foresee in the future a group outside of the standard medical insurance developing that would be available that might pay for these expenses for this amazing product? Because, I mean, I'm a firm believer in all of this, but also, you know, I'm watching my parents and their income, they can't afford this. So it's just like buying better groceries. It's like, yeah, we want to do that. How are we going to pay for it? So you're stuck in a, you know.
God, I love that. You're giving me the goosebumps. Great idea. I can tell you that the VA has a starter program for veterans where veterans with cards are
Awesome.
getting free product. And remember, PTSD is one of the big leading diagnoses that proved how safe medical marijuana is versus traditional pharmacology. So that's a pretty newer thing, but boy, I would love to, let's talk afterwards, I would love to run with that idea.
So are you saying let's start a patent? You know? I mean, I'm just saying.
I have not, well, let's have another conversation so we can keep these wheels turning, because there's got to be a way, because when you say it about that's so much it for the older patients, and they're the ones that benefit the most. I mean, you get one retiree from the foursome, from a golf foursome on a card, the other three will be in next week and get their cards because they see how much better it works. People don't like, you know, the opiates. People don't like the traditional pills. I don't have the answer to it, but I wish I did. So, happy medicine, yes?
You mentioned the VA has a program for
Yes.
PTSD.
No, for veterans and marijuana. I don't have all the details, but I can give you a link to find it. Because I've had a couple patients tell me, and a family friend in California just got his card because another veteran told him about it. So I should be able, let's at the end exchange contact info, and I should be able to get it for you. I'm sorry, I don't have it at my fingertips. That's like, they were like, I think it was 2 weeks ago he got his card. And I've kind of been on the road, a little too much, but it's okay. This is the fun part. Okay, and then of course, we were doing questions, and company policy, you're only allowed to do one pitch for your company. This is our pitch that we are actually coordinating with Lucky Leaf, so it's more than that. It's part of the program. But we've got doctors, we've got 2 extra doctors on standby, extra staff. If anyone needs to renew their cards while they're here today, our booth, we can help you sign up for it. I'm doing a couple appointments both days, myself as well in person. In general, we do them on video. But the discount code that you're getting, everyone, you know where you got your brochure for the course syllabus or the whole convention. Our ad was a stick-in page. The code is on there. It's LLB 2023, Lucky Leaf Baltimore 2023. You get $25 off, whether it's a new or renewal. Even if you don't need it for a couple months, that's fine. And I think, oh, that was what we tried to mix there. That's all I got.
I have a question for
Yes.
you. You had mentioned the terpenes before when you were talking to your patient and things like that. I've had patients since 17 for different reasons, from pain management to cancer survivors. So I personally think that like terpenes are where focus needs to be, more testing needs to be. Personally, I was curious on your professional opinion on where that is, because one thing I noticed when I did my market research in California last year is that they're not doing terpene testing.
Well, California is a great frontier in several directions, and they're just making the money. I will, how about if we counted that first with a happy story? There is a little town in Michigan that's directly across the state line. That town has 1 traffic light, 5 dispensaries. 5 dispensaries. I mentioned that because the 5th one, there were 4. The 5th one were employees that seceded from one of the big box chain dispensaries, and they made their own next door, and they built their grow. And their only focus is the terpene profile, and they're writing articles. If you come in there as what we call a THC hunter, you know, what's your highest THC? They'll look at you like you've got 2 heads. They will teach you about the terpenes. So the good news is, where I'm going with that is I think it's coming. My bias as a physician is that you have to be an advanced user to get to that point. Your question was research. Yes, research needs to focus there. But even so, it really is, as you know, with the terpenes, it's not just your one terpene that you like, it's the ones that you dislike, and it's that balance, or your actual terpene profile versus the terpene profile of the product. I think fortunately most states are starting to label. Like I'm even seeing it, Mississippi was one of the last ones to come online. Ohio, we are labeling with it. As I said earlier, I have not shopped Maryland, so I can't tell you firsthand, but I think it's coming.
Well, Maryland does have the terpene profiles listed for
Okay,
products.
But I think the thing is, again, you can't, it's not for the beginner user until we have more data and have more standardization how we're combining, you know, the relative terpenes. But I think that's the direction we're going. So I tell people, you know, the first year, focus on these basics, and then when you're comfortable, then you'll start working on your terpene profile. And then when I'm talking to patients, I can tell how much they've figured out versus, because there's a difference between reading it and trying it. Because I can also tell you, every day people tell me, oh, I want sativa, I love sativa, I know sativa's the only thing I like. Well, sure. Until you get to figure it out from menu and you find out what you really like, and then you get to it. Any other questions? Alrighty, well, have a fun weekend, and we're down there. If you guys have other one-on-one questions, we'll be around. And a few of our, even though we're an online video company, it so happened that 3 of our employees live in the Baltimore area, so we've got a couple, some of the people working there just are our real team. Cool, well, have a great day, we'll see you all tonight. Remember, free food and 1 free cup. Last meeting they used.